Let me tell you how a single glass of champagne nearly erased me, and how I turned that very moment into the revelation my toxic family never saw coming. It was supposed to be a celebration, a milestone anniversary for my brother and his perfect bride. The kind of event where everyone dresses too formally, flashes insincere smiles, and pretends we're a picture-perfect family. But beneath the glow of chandeliers and the hum of the string quartet, the night was nothing more than a powder keg, waiting for the right spark. I lingered near the back of the ballroom, trapped in a beige dress I hadn't chosen. It clung uncomfortably at the waist, pressed at the chest, and screamed one command: blend in and stay silent. That had always been my role: be invisible, be quiet, be easy to ignore. Laughter swirled around me. Glasses clinked. Phones flashed. Everyone showered my brother and his wife with admiration while I stood with a drink I didn't even want. My father was locked in conversation with a politician, and the woman who had married him, my lifelong adversary, was circling the room with her brittle, artificial laugh. Then it hit me. Not drunkenness, not even a buzz, something stranger. My body felt loose, unsteady. A fog crept into my mind, dulling my balance and twisting my stomach. I put the glass down and slipped toward the hallway, desperate for air. That's when I met her. A woman I didn't know, sharp eyes, auburn hair pulled back in a no-nonsense bun. She stepped directly into my path. "Are you?" she asked. Softly. I nodded. Hesitant. Her voice dropped, firm and urgent. "Don't drink any more. I just watched your stepmother slip something into your glass. My blood ran cold." She pulled a card from her clutch. "I do security for high-profile events. I know what I saw." Powder, clear, stirred in until it dissolved. Not an accident. Panic throbbed in my chest. I admitted I'd already taken a few sips. Her eyes scanned me quickly, then act fast. "If you can, switch glasses, make it look like nothing." She pressed the card into my hand and walked away as though nothing had happened. I returned to the table, pulse hammering. And there it was, her glass, nearly identical to mine, untouched beside her plate. While she chatted with the photographer, I made the swap. Smooth, invisible. Minutes later, the toast began. My father rose, delivering his usual speech about love, loyalty, legacy. The room hushed. Glasses lifted. She reached for the one in front of her, the one I had left there deliberately. Our eyes met as she sipped. Her smile faltered. Her gaze sharpened. Then the glass slipped from her hand, shattering across the polished floor. She staggered, tried to steady herself, and crumpled in front of over 100 horrified guests. Screams filled the air. Trays clattered. My brother rushed forward, his wife gasped, my father bellowed for help, and me, I didn't move. I sat, calm and steady, because I knew that glass had been meant for me. Sirens split the night. Ambulance lights washed the estate in red and blue, casting long shadows across marble pillars. She convulsed, froth forming at her lips as they wheeled her out. But fear? I felt none, only clarity. She had tried to erase me, and I had watched her choke on her own betrayal. The chaos around me blurred into background noise. Relatives wept. Guests whispered. My father clutched his drink as though it was the only anchor left to reality. By the time police arrived, I already knew questions would turn toward me. They always did. Statements were taken. I chose my words carefully. No, I hadn't noticed anything unusual. Yes, we all sat near the champagne. Nothing until she fell. The truth stayed locked behind my teeth. For now, but truth doesn't stay buried. By morning, my phone buzzed with messages. A cousin's text. "You're trending." I opened the feed. Viral videos, hashtags, hashtag champagne mystery, hashtag anniversary disaster, hashtag what was in the glass. The clip showed her laughing, sipping, then collapsing, and the camera lingering on me, still, cold, unmoved. The comments turned me into a villain in seconds. By noon, detectives called me in. The room was sterile, beige walls pressing down like judgment. Across from me, the investigator folded her, hands over a thin folder. "We have the toxicology report," she said. My breath stayed even. "Scopolamine," she explained. "Not lethal in this dose, but disorienting. Dangerous." I met her stare without blinking. "I believe it." "Believe it?" She leaned forward. "Why?" "Because I was the one meant to drink it." And then, for the first time, I told the whole story. The stranger's warning, the switch, the collapse. Her pen froze halfway across the page. "Why would your stepmother want to harm you?" I didn't flinch. "Because she discovered the truth." "What truth?" "That she has no right to a cent of my mother's estate, and I have the proof." And with those words, the real story began. 2 months earlier, I had received an envelope postmarked from Georgia. Inside was a letter from my late mother's attorney. The contents were simple but explosive. Hidden deep in the prenuptial agreement between my parents was a clause: if my father ever remarried, his new spouse would be legally barred from touching any part of my mother's estate, investments, trust funds, property, all of it untouchable. The woman who had married him either didn't know, or worse, thought no one else ever would. But I found the letter, and like a fool, I let slip on a call I assumed was private that I had leverage. Somehow she heard. From that moment, everything changed. Suddenly, I was being invited to events where I'd always been excluded. She sent me a dress for the anniversary. Party, her choice, not mine. Smiles, compliments, a performance of kindness. But it wasn't kindness. It was bait. A trap disguised as an olive branch. She never thought I would be sharp enough to recognize it. The detective's warning rang in my head later at the station. She studied me with steady eyes. "You realize how this looks, don't you?" she asked. I nodded. I had swapped the glasses. She had drunk what was meant for me. Now she was hospitalized. To the outside world, that looked like motive. "I didn't poison anyone," I said. "I just didn't drink what was meant for me." The detective's tone softened, but not by much. "You're safe for now. But if she wakes up and twists the story, should turn it all on you. We'll need the letter." "And your witness," I agreed. I had nothing to hide. The moment I stepped outside, I knew my life had changed forever. She would wake up. She would lie. She would twist the truth, paint me as unhinged, manipulative, dangerous. But I already had proof. What she meant as my silent erasure had become the spark for something else entirely. That night, my phone rang. My brother's voice, tight with anger. "What the hell did you tell the police?" "The truth," I said evenly. "You have no idea what you've done." She tried to drug me. I shot back. "You don't know that." "I do. And someone else saw it too." "A security officer?" He fell silent, his exhale sharp. That silence told me everything. I wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. The next morning, I sat across from my mother's attorney. The old office smelled of lemon oil and dust. I slid the prenup clause across the desk. My mother's signature stared up at me in ink I'd memorized as a child. 5 minutes later, the attorney lifted his head, pale. "This changes everything. If this goes to court, her financial foundation collapses. Houses, cars, business assets, all connected to your mother's estate. She has no claim." "She knows that," I said coldly. "That's why she tried to get rid of me first." 3 days later, she was released from the hospital. No apology, no admission, just a legal notice accusing me of defamation and deliberate harm. I smiled when I read it. Fear hides behind lawsuits. At the next family gathering, I walked into the estate like I belonged. because I did. My father's eyes hardened, my brother flinched, and she, pale, stiff, eyes darting like a cornered animal, took a seat across. For me, how's your memory? I asked lightly, still foggy. She muttered. My father barked for silence, but I ignored him. Mine's crystal clear. So is the security footage. So is the clause in my mother's prenup. Glasses slammed. Voices rose. You're going to destroy this family, my brother spat. No, I said. I'm going to expose the rot that's already eating it alive. Within days, she went on the offensive. An exclusive interview with a glossy local blog. She painted herself as the victim, an innocent woman blindsided by a bitter stepchild. She claimed memory loss, fainting spells, years of resentment on my part, not one word about the prenup. Not one word about the witness. For a moment, it hurt. Because people believed her, the comments stung with cruelty. Another spoiled rich kid. Another jealous brat, but truth doesn't rush. It waits. The security officer called me that night. You saw the article? I did. You ready to make a move? The next morning, she slid a flash drive across the cafe table. Security, footage, transcripts, evidence I hadn't even imagined existed. One clip showed her glancing around before dropping something into the glass. Another caught her whispering to a server who vanished the moment police arrived. It wasn't an impulse. It was a plan. Release it, she told me. She made her move. Now make yours. So I did. Through a small but respected independent outlet. The footage spoke for itself. No commentary, no spin, just fact. And this time, the internet didn't side with her. Questions poured in. Why does she look so calm before collapsing? Is that a pill in her hand? Where did the server go? That evening, my father called. His voice was low, weary. We need to talk. I listened in silence as he admitted he hadn't known about the prenup. I cut him off. It wouldn't have mattered. You let her bury me long before she tried to drug me. Finally, I told him what I wanted. The truth made public, her gone from my mother's house, and what was rightfully mine. With interest at the next morning, I walked into the estate again, this time wearing beige by choice, not command. She was gone. My father slid a folder across the table. You win, he said quietly. Inside was my mother's trust, restored and untouched. The house was mine again within the week. I restored the photos, the garden, the memories she had tried to erase, but the story didn't end there. My brother came one evening, hollow-eyed. He admitted he knew. That she'd told him it was just something to make me drowsy. That he had stayed silent out of fear or greed. I closed the door. In the weeks that followed, her reputation crumbled. Boards dropped her. Partners backed out. Whispers followed everywhere she went. And me. I stayed quiet. No interviews. No gloating. Number. Revenge posts, because sometimes the loudest revenge is simply surviving.